Welcome to A24152018. We got two movies.
Yeah, as always.
So, I feel like the longer we go with this series, the intros get way more bare bones. It's just like, you know what you're here for. We're just gonna get into it.
We don't care. Just let's talk about some movies.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
We're phoning it in, yeah.
Okay.
Ever since we got that Jim's Pizza sponsor, I mean, why even try?
There's no reason to push it.
Everything's all expenses paid, so I mean...
All expenses paid.
Yeah. I live in a mansion now.
Oh, yeah?
It's unbelievable the amount of money that can come from a East Brooklyn pizza joint underneath a bridge. Anyway.
And the dumbest part is that wasn't even the intro for A24 last time.
Well, it's part of the podcast lore now.
What the
So
hell?
I gotta reincorporate it.
No.
Alright. Let's talk about Dark Places.
It was bad.
It is bad. Let's talk about First Reformed.
Alright, it was good.
Okay. Well,
Thank
the winner
you very
of
much.
this episode... The winner for this episode's First Reformed. See you later.
Oh my god.
There you go. Episode done.
I mean, it's as quick as that. Really. I mean, if that's what you wanted to hear, if that's what you were here for, go watch First Reform. There you go.
Yeah.
If you want to hear more, stick around, my boys and gals and girls.
Okay.
And guys.
So, now that we got that out of the way, you want to talk about Dark Places?
Let's talk about Dark Places. So we have Charlize Theron
Yes.
playing
Nicholas Hoult.
playing a survivor of her family getting done murdered.
Yee.
You had her brother, who was blamed
Who's played
for killing
by,
everyone.
Percival from Ready Player One in the past. And then,
But you know what? I thought this was the guy from Killing of a Sacred Deer.
me too.
For
I
the longest
actually
time.
looked it up because
I
was
had to as well. It looks very similar.
The Percival kid from Ready Player One looks very much like the kid from Killing of a Sacred Deer. So I wasn't sure which one it was, and I was leaning towards Killing of a Sacred Deer, and I think it's just the whole, like, creepy kid vibe I got from him that made me think that.
Which is fair.
So, it's not, but, you know.
So, brief plot synopsis. It's convoluted and stupid.
Yeah.
There you go.
Here's what I'll say about Dark Places. I think this is based on a book, and it becomes extremely apparent that it's based on a book. I think there's a good story in here somewhere, and I think that's probably what the book was.
Yeah, do you remember when I texted you?
Yeah,
What was it, Snapchat?
Yeah, I believe what you said was like this movie could have been great, but it really isn't.
Yeah.
And as I was watching it, I was like, yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
It has the potential to be good, so I feel like while I wouldn't recommend this movie, I feel somewhat confident in recommending the book, because it's a good story. I will admit, I was thinking at certain points, like, this is a really interesting story, and if it were done by a competent screenwriter or a competent director, it could have been, like, really good. I'm thinking if you get, like a David Fincher type to do this kind of movie, it could have turned out great. I'm not saying specifically David Fincher, just somebody with that kind of sensibility. This felt like if you got, like, the person who directed 50 Shades of Grey to, like, do this kind of movie.
That's kind of harsh.
I mean, it felt self-important.
You know what? I take
say.
that back because I haven't seen 50 Shades of Grey.
I mean, it's 50 Shades of Grey, it's, like, just completely schlocky garbage, but it's presented in a way that it feels like it's supposed to be elevating this garbage, and it's, like, coming back around to being artsy again, but it's just not competent enough to pull it off.
Right.
And that's what this movie felt like. Like, this movie is just... Well, first of all, it's just a mess from a, screenwriting standpoint. And edited very poorly. And directed very poorly. And just everything's incompetent. There's several pretty subpar actors. Most of them children. Every time a kid is on screen in this movie, I really wanted to stop watching it.
Yeah.
And Charlize Theron does a good job.
Yeah,
Nicholas Hoult.
She's fine.
He's
fine.
Nicholas Hoult.
You know,
he just did the Nicholas Hoult thing.
All the acting for me was fine. I didn't really care.
Sure.
But then again,
no, it's like
after starting this movie and getting into it and being like, wow, I really just don't care. It's dark, it's moody, it's brooding, and it has a story that could have been good.
Yeah, it gets so convoluted and ridiculous near the end that I.
Jesus
That's really
Christ,
loud.
Colin.
That's my phone's vibrate. Anyway, it gets so convoluted and ridiculous near the end that I don't know. I just broke down laughing at a certain point, and that doesn't bode well for the movie because last time I did that, it was during The Captive. In fact, I got The Captive vibes from this.
Oh, certainly, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's actually. I looked on IMDb, and The Captive is the top related movie, and I was like, why is that? Because they don't share any creative similarities,
Maybe it's just the way the movie was cut together. It just feels similar in that regard. Because I totally can feel that. That makes a lot of sense.
I liked this more than The Captive, I'll say.
For sure. There was some redeeming quality.
The Captive was just laughable and never interesting. This, I credit it to the book because this had an interesting story. It was just told in a really uninteresting way.
I mean, imagine... should we spoil it?
Sure.
Alright. So imagine this ending where this girl who's trying to find out all the truth about did her brother not kill her entire family, and then she finds this girl who he was dating who ended up killing somebody in the family, but then it was also some guy who ended up getting hired to kill the family. Yeah. And then it's this big twist, and then she done gets bopped by the girl. What an amazing twist that would have been great if done correctly.
Well, it's the twist is kind of undercut by how convoluted it is, I think. Because it's as these details are coming out, it's the mother was so in... Okay, that whole plot line I didn't get. The mother's so in debt that she hired somebody to come kill her and her family?
Yeah. I don't know.
Maybe it's better explained in the book, but I don't get how that works. She's just we're so in debt, so somebody might as well come kill us. And I'll hire somebody to do it.
It has to make more sense in the book.
Yeah, because it's completely nonsensical in the movie. I was like, what? She voluntarily does this. In fact, it's her initiative, and she decides to do it.
Yeah, well, and it just has to be better explained in the book,
The whole thing about the murders is that the mother hired a killer to kill her. Suicide by serial killer was essentially what it was, and then on top of this, as this is happening, the Ben's girlfriend kills one of his sisters when they're there, and this is all going down at the same time, and it's just chaos, and it's just a mess.
Yeah, and I think it could have definitely been helped in the book sense. Yeah. I mean, the idea that she now believes that she is the worst mother in the world and her son is molesting her other daughters would make sense why she would hire a serial killer to kill herself, to kill her, so then they would be put into orphanages or spread out or given to different family members and then given money to keep that farm.
Okay. Well, yeah, and I guess her whole thing was that, she wanted to die at that point, I guess, and if she would have killed herself, then people would have been like, oh, she killed herself and left the children to be on their own, the selfish woman. But in the movie, her motivation kind of makes sense to hire a serial killer in that case, because it's not her fault she died, a serial killer came and killed her.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, and if you kill yourself, life insurance doesn't pay out.
And to be fair, that's also true. I guess that was the point. I don't think it was really fully explained, and I didn't care much to think about it because it was so dull.
Or if it does pay out, it pays out less. Yeah. So yeah, I believe that's kind of what it was going for, and I'm sure that in words of a decent writer, it was explained much better than this movie.
Probably.
Yeah. This movie was trying to jam-pack an entire book that has this very complex storyline into a 2-hour-long movie, which you may not think is hard, but it really is, especially when you're too busy focusing on how dark everything is.
Mm-hmm.
Dark!
It's
like
literally,
the place,
literally called Dark
like
Places.
Dark Places.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
This movie, yeah. Well, what I think about this movie, I checked out the reviews, and a lot of them mainly focused on Charlize Theron's performance, and I think this movie just exists as like a vehicle for her to give an good acting performance. And it succeeded in that because she's good in the movie.
Yeah,
she's fine.
Yeah,
but the thing is, it's like you need
but...
more than that to make a good movie. You know.
And she's not like a good enough actor to like carry the whole movie.
Like, here's an example. Donald Gleason. No. Not Donald. His father, Brendan Gleeson.
Yeah. He
gave a great performance in Trespass Against Us. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
He was really good in that movie, but the movie just sucked.
Yeah.
And this is a case of that, where it's like an acting powerhouse on it does not work as the foundation of a movie, because it's like if you get the actor and like he's like, I'm gonna give my tour de force performance in this movie, but like the screenwriter doesn't care and the director doesn't care, and that's just this really mediocre movie with a really good performance. It really doesn't save it in my mind.
I think it can, but you have to have such a good actor that And Charlize Theron, she's good. Well, she's definitely not that good.
Well, no, not that good, but she's not bad is the important thing. But like here's what you can do if you're that transparent about the movie you're making. You're like, this just exists to be an acting powerhouse. You can do a Locke thing with Tom Hardy, where the movie's is so simplistic. It's like a one-act play in one location in a car the whole way through, because that's all it exists to be. It is an acting powerhouse movie. It's not something like this, which is supposed to be an acting powerhouse movie, but it like wears the disguise of like a crime thriller too, you know?
Yeah.
It's like Locke. I liked Locke because it was so straightforward about what it's trying to be. In this, it's like, it's a good movie, it's a really good performance, but it's like, this is an okay performance, and the movie's not good.
Yeah.
Locke is a great performance and therefore a great movie, because that's all it is.
Imagine this movie, instead of Charlize Theron, it was just Tilda Swinton.
That'd be great.
Wouldn't it?
Yeah. They would improve it. I'm not a massive Charlize Theron fan, because I don't know. She's always been like good but forgettable to me.
Yeah.
Like, I've never seen her do a performance that's like super memorable. And it's like that in this movie. She's just a damaged character, and not much personality other than I'm damaged and depressed.
Then, as far as the character goes, like, she didn't grow as a character.
Well, she kind of did.
Did she?
By the end of the movie, she's like, I understand now. I was trapped in a prison of my own, and he learned to forgive, and I didn't. And then it's implied character growth.
Yeah, but it's not shown.
Right.
Like, she doesn't actually act out any character growth.
I feel like
in the movie.
I feel like they didn't write in any character growth, and then somebody
fair.
Somebody at some point was like, well, we can do this cop-out line near the end where it implies that her character grew. It was never outwardly shown.
Yeah, because her character throughout the entire movie is doing the same thing.
Yes.
I mean, she changed from not wanting to find out what happened to wanting to find out what happened.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't call that growth.
The movie felt like a broken record. It's like Charlize Theron, every scene, goes to a place she's uncomfortable with. Some creepy weirdo touches her and she says, don't touch me.
Or gets a little too close.
Yes.
And she says, back up, son.
Yeah, it's like, that's every scene. It sounds odd, but that's really what happens throughout most of the movie.
Yeah.
It's an odd way to frame every scene, but...
And, okay, so there is a stripper in this movie that she goes and talks to, and this stripper was supposed to be the little girl that was molested by her brother, supposedly, but then not actually.
Yeah.
Throughout the majority of the movie, I thought that was supposed to be the grown-up version of Chloe, what's-her-face?
Chloe Grace Moretz.
Yeah, that girl.
Yeah.
I thought that's who that was supposed to be.
Really? Well, she was only in one scene.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just...
I didn't... I understood who it was.
I totally didn't know who it was.
It's rare that I'm paying more attention than you. That never happens.
I didn't care.
When I watch a movie like this, I just check out completely.
So you know what ended up happening?
Yeah.
I was going through the movie. I'm like, well, this is kind of weird. They've already found this girl, but now they're gonna like try to find her again.
Yeah.
And then they go and find a different girl, and I'm like, oh, that's supposed to be a different girl. So it took until like the last like 30 to 15 minutes of the movie before I realized.
That's fair.
Because I probably missed like one line of dialogue.
Yeah.
It was awful.
That's fair.
So it was bad. Dark Places was bad. I didn't like it.
This is just basically kicking movie welts down at this point.
That's fine.
When they go find the girlfriend all grown up, Ben's girlfriend all grown up in that house, and then the daughter comes out, I laughed through that whole scene, and it was mostly because she was like, "It's me, the illegitimate love child."
Yeah, no, like what the...
She introduces herself like that. I was like, what?
I'm the secret. I'm
like,
not supposed to exist.
It's like she is the purest form of exposition manifested in a movie I've ever seen. It's wonderful.
She's so self-aware.
Yeah. It's like the script came alive and became a human person.
Don't tell people I'm real. I'm not supposed to exist. Oh my god. Just stop talking.
She did say, "It's me, the love child," at some point.
Yeah.
I swear to God.
Something like that. It's awful.
Yeah. "It's me, the plot twist." She was one step away from saying that.
Basically, yep.
Wonderful movie. 10 out of 10.
I
I had a fun time watching it.
Did you?
No.
Yeah.
Let's talk about First Reformed. A real blast and a half.
Blast? Yeah, it is. So...
Okay.
First Reformed.
I just want to say, before we get started on this, you're probably going to expect me to gush all over this movie, but I'm absolutely not going to, but we can talk it out.
That's fine.
Okay.
So you got First Reformed. First Reformed is about this man,
yes.
Ethan Hawke,
yes.
who is the reverend
yes.
of the church.
Yes.
Called the First Reformed Catholic Church or something or another like that.
Yes.
Which is basically just a really old church that has been basically turned into a museum that he just basically runs.
Yeah, there's a gift shop.
And he has like this midlife crisis while he also is getting sick and probably cancer is what it came down to.
Yeah.
And then he also is dealing with this girl and his husband, her husband has just gotten out of jail and come back into town, and he's like super into protecting the environment, and he is having depression issues.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
All right. So he goes and he talks to this guy, and this guy, he's like, I don't know if I want to bring a baby into this world because this world's so messed up. And then he starts listing a bunch of facts about global warming, which great. And then the two just sit there and philosophize.
Yes.
For like 15 minutes.
And that seems riveting.
That seems amazing.
Because it's just a reverse shot of two people talking it out for like a very long scene, and I was just on the edge of my seat.
Yeah, I loved it.
Because it was fantastic.
Okay, so that ends. He goes back to the church. It's a lot of shots of him just walking around this church.
This is a really pretty
in his
movie.
Oh, it's so pretty. Let me get there, though.
Yeah.
So... I'm just trying to get the plot out of the way so we can just gush on how pretty it is and how weird it gets. And anyway, so then he ends up going back to his church. He gets a call from the girl, and she's like, I need you to come here right away. And he's like, is the man there? And she's like, no. He's like, what? And she's just like, come. He's like, all right. So he goes over, and she's like pulling out all this stuff and shows him that the depressed man has made a suicide bomb vest, right? All right. So he's like, oh my god, that's crazy. Is he gonna like go and bomb like a oil plant? I don't know. And so he's like, I'm gonna take it and get rid of it. And so then he takes it, and then he goes back to his church, right? There's a bunch of problems with the church. They're getting ready for a 250th year anniversary, whatever. Then he gets a call from the guy who he was supposed to meet for a therapy session, and then the guy's like, hey, go here instead. So he's like, alright. He goes there. He walks down this nice path. It's very pretty. He looks, and the guy's there, dead. Shot himself.
Head blown clean off.
Just half of it gone. It's awful.
Okay, this suicide scene was gut-wrenching in probably the most amazing way. Because there's no music, and it's not over-dramatized. It's just, it is what it is. It's just this flat shot of, like, there he is.
You don't see him do it. He's just already lying on the ground.
And this is a pretty relatively straightforward drama with religious themes, and you don't expect it to get that grisly out of the blue. And you're probably imagining this as this huge plot twist moment where you're like, oh, this is, like, secretly a horror movie, but it's not. It happens, he reacts, but he's, like, you know, he used to be in the military, and he's not, like, breaking down over it. He's just shocked, you know. And then the next scene is them hauling the body away, and then the movie just continues.
Yeah.
And it's this whole thing of like this man's just kind of emotionally dead, Ethan Hawke, and it's just this suicide is just kind of it's shocking, but it's just part of life. Yeah. And it deals with death in such an interesting way. It happens, and despite how grisly it is, it doesn't become a Hollywood movie about it, you know. It's kind of reminded me of Manchester by the Sea, like horrific atrocities happen, and it's just part of life sometimes, you know. Mm-hmm. Anyway, continue.
So he follows the police back from that to go tell the wife that her husband is dead. Ends up staying there and chatting with her, and this is the first time that we start to see them two connecting on a little bit more of a friendly level than they were before. She's like, can you please stay and pray with me? So he holds her hands and prays with her right then and there. No big deal.
Yeah.
Like, that could be played off as nothing, because that's pretty normal for a reverend or a priest to do, you know, not a big deal. He then goes back to the church. More things are going on with the 250-year anniversary coming up. He's having more and more problems with drinking. He now has been told that he may have cancer and they need to do tests. And then he was told to stop drinking, keeps drinking. He starts doing a ton of research on global warming. There's this fantastic scene where they go into a diner. The reverend, the other church guy, I don't know his title, but he's like a step above Ethan Hawke. He's kind of like the head guy of the overarching like church that's taking care of the First Reformed Catholic Church, and then sits down with one of the higher donators to the church, which happens to be a big old oil CEO guy. And they have this, I really like this scene. Like, I'm not like huge on the political stuff, but he starts talking about how the guy who shot himself, how his funeral turned into a political act, and the church was there, and so they were taking a political stance, and so he doesn't want any politics at the 250-year anniversary. And then Ethan Hawke like opens his mouth and starts talking about how, like, will God forgive us for what we've done to his world, and like it gets this really cool kind of like just harsh vibe, and I hated it. And I loved it.
Yeah, it's really seedy and bleak and depressing. It really is.
Yes, very. So, he's like, no more political stunts. And so he's like, okay, whatever. Fine. And so then he goes back home, Ethan Hawke, that is.
Yeah.
And he just starts drinking more and writing more in his notebook. And then he ends up coming up with this fantastic plan. But in the middle of his planning, he gets interrupted by that girl again.
Yeah.
Who comes into his house, you know, invited, of course. And then she's like, oh, I used to do this thing with my husband where I would lay on top of him and then we would just breathe and look into each other's eyes. And
then they go on a magical journey through space and time. in probably the strangest sequence I've seen in a drama film.
This is where this movie
went off the rails.
This is where this movie turned into, like... I've seen movies like this, and I usually hate them.
Mm-hmm.
This felt like that weird scene from, like, a ghost story, where, like, the houses start getting destroyed around the ghosts.
Yeah.
Kind of felt like that. Where things just all of a sudden start happening, and you're like, oh!
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what I felt like. Cool. Except this felt like it had a lot less going for it.
I'm going to be honest with you right now, and don't worry, I'm already going to have a spoiler warning before we even started talking about this, because I feel like spoilers are kind of inevitable when we talk about this movie. I'm going to be honest with you right now. I loved this movie. I was like, you don't understand. I was thinking like 5-star masterpiece. For the first hour and a half, I was totally sold. And then the last 20 minutes killed it so hard, in my opinion. I would still say I enjoyed it for the most part, but my rating took a harsh hit after the ending.
Yeah?
Yeah. So
that's fair.
So
that's completely
fair. Do you agree with me?
Yeah, no, I would give this a 4.5, 4-star.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I
settled on 4-star because it's like a star. It's so fantastic until the ending that it's like I gotta give it a pretty positive score, but like, man, I hated the ending.
Yeah, we're getting there though. We're going full spoilers on this. It's okay. Yeah. So, she lays on top of him. They hold hands and they just breathe and stare into each other's eyes.
Yeah.
And then the world goes crazy and they start floating off the ground.
Yeah.
And then
it gets surreal.
Yeah, super surreal. They start floating, which I'm just taking this as kind of what he's feeling internally.
Right, yeah.
And then the world around them turns black, and then you start seeing these beautiful nature pieces that they're just like flying over, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
And it gets more and more beautiful until like it starts turning into like tires and gas pollution and power plants.
And that ties into part of why I didn't like this movie so much.
Yeah.
That scene was the most heavy-handed political message.
Definitely.
I wish... Okay, I agree with the movie's stance on global warming, because this movie is very much about global warming.
Yeah.
I completely agree with the movie's stance on global warming, and I sympathize with Ethan Hawke's character. However, I think it felt like an homage to Al Gore's Inconvenient Truth at times, and I think it kind of ruined this movie's prospects as being a serious drama.
Yeah, and very hand-holdy.
Yes, very ham-fisted. Very shoves it right in your face.
Mm-hmm.
And that sequence was the first part where I rolled my eyes and I was like, "Why are you doing this movie?"
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Also, the funny thing about that sequence is conceptually, when you leave out the global warming stuff, conceptually I like it, but it's honestly a visual effect looked so bad that I didn't like it. Maybe it was just the resolution I was watching it in. It looked horrible. it was just, it's like, man, I'm really taken out of the moment, and this is supposed to be this surreal, wonderful thing, but it's just like it's just a bad visual effect to me. So yeah.
And from this point on, we have nothing but really, really heavy-handed global warming propaganda stuff and very, very heavy-handed religious symbolism going on throughout the rest of this movie.
Yeah.
So much so that it's like, oh my god, please stop.
Which isn't even the issue in my mind. The issue is that this movie had the rare double cop-out for the ending.
Well, we'll get there.
Okay,
we'll get there.
All right.
So, what ends up happening is after they go on this magic flying trip, right, they get off of each other, and she goes home. Like, no big deal. Whatever. That wasn't weird at all.
Sure.
And so more things happen, more time passes. He has this weird exchange with his ex-wife where he's like, I despise you.
Was that his ex-wife? I don't think it was.
I don't know. It was somebody who cared about him.
The way he talked to her earlier made me think... She talked about his previous marriage, and he said, my marriage was a failure. Okay, so that makes me think it's not her. It's just a woman that he's had a relation with in the past.
Okay. Well, this girl that he has been around and talked to throughout the majority of the film in brief little snippets. He's just like, I despise you.
And that was a great scene.
That was really good.
I was like, wow, this is fantastic.
And she's just like breaking down. She's like, well, I just want you to be healthy and be happy. And
because Ethan Hawke's performance is great in this movie, and I love his character. Because his character is very soft-spoken and very tender, but like that moment, it's like he's just so intense at times. Like when I visibly recoiled when he just like stopped her, and he's just like, I despise you. I despise the way you make me feel. And I was like, wow.
Yeah. It was rough.
This is intense.
So I'm just gonna skip right to the good part where the 250th year anniversary is now happening. The church sermon is officially starting. The organ is playing, and Ethan Hawke is in his room getting ready. And what does he do?
He whips out the bomb vest from earlier in the movie, and he's like,
I'm
gonna kill everybody.
He throws it on. He's told that girl that he laid on top of, or she laid on top of him, to go and stay away. So he throws on this bomb vest like he's gonna go blow it up.
Yeah, he doesn't tell her what he's gonna do, but he tells her not to come to the thing.
And he puts on the vest. He puts on his other stuff over the vest so they can't see it. And he looks out the window, and she enters the church. And he like starts just like stomping around his room. He has
this mental breakdown.
Yeah, he just starts like screaming and stomping around his room, and he's like throwing the vest off and taking his clothes off, and then he goes into the closet. He pulls out barbed wire and pipe cleaner.
Yeah.
Sets the pipe cleaner down on the table, takes the barbed wire, and starts wrapping it around his bare chest.
Yeah.
Which then leads to this scene where you see just like from the belly button up of him
the worst makeup job
in
the history of film.
The makeup wasn't bad.
The prosthetic.
The fake chest.
The prosthetic
was bad.
It looked like a Halloween costume.
Yeah. That was bad. Like if it had looked good, that could have been like
this really
crazy disturbing.
Really harrowing moment.
Yeah. Because his facial expression was great, but the body just looked dumb.
It just,
So, anyway, So he's like wrapping this barbed wire around himself. And then one of my favorite scenes is when he then puts on his white reverend robe.
And
then the blood starts seeping through. Yeah. And I'm like, that is so cool.
Like, and it's kind of symbolic because he's turning himself into a martyr, and it's this whole like,
and that could have been
Jesus thing, you know.
Like if they would have used that more, it could have been cooler.
Yeah,
but they just kind of dropped it after that. And then he goes and he pours out his whiskey that he had in his cup.
Pours the drain cleaner in the cup.
He pours drain cleaner in the cup.
And it's. I was kind of thrown by the whole like, okay, I guess he's not going to bomb the place because she's there. And then for a second I was like, that's kind of lame that they copped out on that. But no, it's even more miserable. He can't even martyr and make a statement out of it. He's just so miserable that he's just going to kill himself in his own office. And it's like, it's less dramatic, but it's a lot more bleak.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay.
So he picks up the glass full of drain cleaner, and then the door opens and he looks over and the girl is in his room. He drops the drain cleaner on the ground. And then with this vest on and the barbed wire under it, he runs and hugs and kisses her.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the end of the movie. I hated it.
So they copped out on the cop-out, and then it's this happy ending, I guess?
I don't even know. I wouldn't call that a happy ending. It can't be a happy ending. It even
ends. It has this editing choice near the end where it even...
I liked that editing choice,
It was cool, but it's like, it was kind of weird because... you'd expect that kind of editing choice for like this very disturbing ending, but I think it was trying to go for a happy ending vibe. So I don't know, because it's just this sweeping cinematic shot of them kissing, and it's spinning around them, and it goes on for a long time, and then it just cuts. Like the music cuts right out, and it cuts right to black, just like completely offbeat.
It's actually because of that cut that I believe it's not a happy ending.
Okay.
Because, like, how can that be a happy ending from then on?
I don't know. It does kind of mean the whole movie was pointless.
Well, and it leads to him being that guy that he tried to help.
Yeah.
It just leads him into that exact same spot.
I guess.
Which I personally think that's kind of neat, but the ending definitely didn't help that.
No. So, and I'm just... Like I said, I'm just disappointed.
Yeah.
Honestly, I would still recommend this movie because even though the ending is a little bad, the rest is phenomenal. There are some scenes that are like Oscar worthy, and I hope this gets some Oscar buzz. This came out 2018, right? This came out this year. Didn't it? Or was it last year? Yeah, this came out this year. This is a new movie.
I think it did come out this year.
Yeah, I believe so. I'm going to say it came out this year, meaning it's eligible for next year's Oscars. I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, but...
It came out this year.
Okay. I think Ethan Hawke would be a good candidate for Best Actor.
Yeah, I could see that.
And really, like, Best Cinematography, it'd be cool if it at least got a, nomination there.
It was beautiful we should from start to finish.
We should double back because it's a really gorgeous movie.
You know, it opens on this just slow-moving camera being pushed towards the church with this fantastic symmetry going on with dark, cloudy skies. Yeah. Well, not dark, but gray, cloudy skies.
And I should say this movie's got a... what exactly is the aspect ratio? I forget.
I don't know.
But it's a smaller aspect. It's a little boxy aspect ratio. It's very similar to a Ghost Story. And the cinematography reminded me of a Ghost Story. The whole thing about the Ghost Story is because of the aspect ratio, the shots need to be cluttered together, and it makes the movie feel a lot more intimate. And that's absolutely the style that this movie's going for, and that's what the Ghost Story's going for. So they both utilize this smaller aspect ratio in a fantastic way. Yeah. And if there's this one movie where this movie's if there's one area where this movie's an absolute triumph, it is without a doubt the cinematography, because it's a gorgeous movie.
Whoever the cinematographer was, they knew exactly what they were doing.
Yes.
Everything.
And the guy that directed this movie, he directed Taxi Driver and Raging Bull.
Oh.
Yeah. So
I guess that makes sense.
He's been around the block.
Yeah.
When it comes to just disturbed characters.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. So I mean, but like the acting throughout this movie, I enjoyed. The dialogue was good.
Yeah, even the incidental characters, like the other reverend guy, he was good. Yeah. It was very, very believable. Like, if you told me that guy is actually a reverend of a church, I would believe you. Ethan Hawke, even, he has the feel of a small town pastor guy.
Yeah.
Like, he's very, very believable in the role. And everybody's super believable, and it's one of those movies where it's like it's not really flashy acting, but it feels so real, kind of like the end of the tour. It's similar in that way.
Yeah. Well, and if we want to like talk about a little bit of character growth, I mean Ethan Hawke. Yes. I think his character growth, or should I say like character digression, like
degradation.
He just like broke down and was just...
He loses his mind.
Getting worse and worse throughout this movie, but it was amazing to watch.
Yeah. And this movie's just interesting. Part of the reason why I was so enraptured by this movie was I grew up in a church environment, and this movie captures the whole fantastic camaraderie that the church provides, but it also captures the big hypocrisy that you will experience from time to time, especially in the bigger churches.
For sure.
It's like this movie is. I don't know if it's one I would recommend to a heavily religious person, but it's not offensive to religion as a whole, because it's portrayed as a good thing. It's just the whole thing is people take religion and then use it for their own personal profit. Like, the whole idea is, like, the church is corrupted in that they sponsor all these companies that are, you know, killing the planet, and that's the movie's message. But it's also just like, Ethan Hawke's a good guy. He's deeply religious, and he believes we should, you know, save God's creation, is his standpoint. So it's not a movie that will... I don't think it's a movie that requires, like, a trigger warning for deeply religious, fundamental people. But, I mean, it's not the kind of movie they'd enjoy anyway because of the, frankly, grisly violence. So, I don't know. You know what I mean? I was just...
Yeah, no,
I was just trying to figure out if this movie would be offensive to, say, you know, my parents are fundamentally Christian. And, you know, how I was raised, so... I don't think it is.
I don't think so.
Not really.
I wouldn't say so. Well,
it's a really disturbing character study.
It is. Like, if I would definitely pick him for a character study. He's an interesting guy. And just the way he ends up breaking down and it's so much of it is internal. Like, there is some, like, talking through his monologues, through his diary.
Yeah.
But a lot of it is just going on in his head.
I like the fact that I just like movies where his whole plan to bomb the church is never directly stated. You just infer it by his actions.
Yeah.
Like, even if you don't pick up on it, like, you realize when he is putting the suicide vest on before the thing that he plans to bomb the church. But you even realize, like, halfway through the movie that, like, he's gonna bomb that event. You just figure it out, because it's like the movie doesn't hold your hand and doesn't tell you that, but it provides you enough context that you understand that's where this is going.
Yeah. And actually, we should talk about this type of thing more in the actual podcast. Just show, not tell.
Yes.
It's such a simple thing that people just don't use enough. It's a simple thing. Show, not tell.
Yes.
You want to show, so people feel like they're smart when they're watching something, so they think they've figured it out. It really gives the crowd this sense of you know, achievement when they realize what's happening. You know, but you have to do a good job with it, otherwise it just falls apart. But if you can do it, and you can do it well, it comes across, and it is really, really amazing.
Yes.
So, yeah.
So, yeah, ultimately for this episode, do you have anything else you wanted to talk about? Or
Nope.
Ultimately for this episode, First Reformed absolutely wins it, because it is a fantastic movie that is completely let down by a lackluster ending. And it's a real shame.
Yep.
I wish it wasn't that way, but it is. This could have been, like, top of the heap for A24 Quest as far as I'm concerned, but whatever. What can you do?
Got knocked down a couple notches.
Yeah. Unfortunate, but I still highly recommend it. Not that means much, because I feel like, due to the nature of our conversation here, when I release this episode, I'm going to tell people, like, if you plan on seeing First Reformed, watch it before watching this episode, because we just delved right into spoilers in the discussion. But that's fine. That's kind of the movie that's what movie it is, so.
Yep.
I think it's your pick this week, isn't it?
It is.
Cool.
I think I'm going to pick 2 movies so that you don't even get a pick next week. We already know what we're going to watch next week.
Sounds good. Oh, yeah? What is the...
Or the week after.
Okay.
My pick this week is Mojave and the Adderall Diaries.
Okay.
Well, my pick is the Adderall Diaries.
Right, I was trying to figure out which one of those was your pick.
My bad.
Okay, the Adderall Diaries, that's James Franco, isn't it?
I believe so.
Cool.
And then Mojave is, what's his face? Seth Green?
Seth Rogen.
Yep. And that means that we've seen The Witch, Remember, Krisha, and Green Room. So
Sweet.
Next week,
we
after...
we haven't seen The Witch.
What?
Not in A24 Quest.
We haven't?
No, we've not.
Oh my god, never mind, you do get a pick next week. I don't get a pick the week after.
We were going to pair that with It Comes at Night.
Oh, so yeah, we don't get another pick for 2 weeks.
Have we done It Comes at Night?
No, we haven't.
Yeah, I think... Wasn't that our plan?
Yeah, that was our plan.
Yeah, honestly, we should have paired Krisha with It Comes at Night, but I picked Krisha out of order, so... Yeah.
So that means after this week, we have 2 weeks where we don't pick movies.
We don't get a say.
Yep. So this week will be Mojave and the Adderall Diaries. Next week will be The Witch and
The Witch
It Comes at
Night.
And then the week after will be The Lobster
and your least favorite movie.
And Killing of a Sacred Deer.
Yeah.
So that's fun.
Sweet. It's coming real quick, and I cannot wait to talk about it.
Wow. Great.
I still say we should swap out The Lobster for Hereditary, if you ask me. I'm actually seeing Hereditary tomorrow.
Yeah?
Yeah, Movie Club's showing it.
Boy, oh boy. Maybe we should pair Hereditary with Swiss Army Man.
Yeah.
You know, maybe we shouldn't. I love both those movies too much.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, so
we'll figure it out.
So this week is Mojave and
The Adderall Diaries.
And then next week's 2 horror movies, and the week after that is another 2 horror. Well, The Lobster's not horror.
Depressing movies.
Another 2 depressing movies, yeah.
It's going to be a long 2 weeks after this.
Yeah, but we get Swiss Army Man after that, don't we?
It's true. Pretty close, at least.
Okay,
hey, we're getting there though. We're doing a number on this this A24 list. I tell you,
we totally should have paired The Lobster with Tusk.
What?
Because it'll make sense when you see The Lobster.
Okay.
Anyway,
is there body horror where he turns into a lobster?
No, but that's the premise of the movie. He goes on an island where people get turned into animals through surgical procedures. So it does share a plot with Tusk. It's a comedy instead of a comedy.
What? What?
What?
What?
That's the premise of The Lobster.
Is it?
It is, yeah.
What? Oh my god. Okay.
Well,
alright.
It'll be a fun week. This next week won't be, but after that will be a fun week.
Won't this week be fun?
I don't know. No.
I don't know anything about these 2 movies.
Me neither. I hear the Adderall Diaries is really bad, and Mojave is... I mean, I've never heard of it, but that doesn't bode well in A24 quests. But no, we're cool. Right. Maybe Adderall Diaries is good.
Maybe we'll be real surprised.
To be fair, the person I heard say Adderall Diaries was really bad was YMS, and I tend to disagree with him on most things, so we'll see.
Well, there you go.
Alright, this has been probably one of the longest A24 quests ever. Catch you in the next episode where we kill